Welcome one and all to the Síle Show. Well, today I'm absolutely thrilled to be joined by two extraordinary talents, Matthew McMahon and Eileen Gomez. Matthew is an Irish actor and voice artist whose work spans screen, stage and animation. He's also a devoted father of 3 gorgeous children with autism. Alongside him is Eileen Gomez, acclaimed actor, producer, director and drama facilitator, also a proud parent of 3 gorgeous children, one of whom has autism. They're here today to talk to us about The Flowers of May, a beautiful piece of theatre, a two-hander, written by Matthew McMahon himself and amazingly directed by Emma Saunders. The play blends poetic storytelling with raw, emotional honesty, offering a deeply human look at life, love and resilience in families affected by autism. Eileen brings the story to life with her signature depth and presence, making this a collaboration that you will not forget and you really have to catch wherever you can. They're touring the country at the moment. This play was born from personal experience, written to remind parents everywhere that they're not alone. It gives voice to the unseen moments, the small victories, and the extraordinary endurance of families living with autism. Please join me in giving a warm Síle Show welcome to Matthew McMahon and Eileen Gomez. Guys, you are so welcome. I couldn't wait to have this chat with you. Matthew, I'm going to start with you, if you don't mind. Tell me how long the play was in incubation before you took it to the stage.
I started writing it in 2022, I think. Yeah, we were doing a short film together at the time, and it was actually on a similar topic of parenting a child with autism. And I'd always wanted to create my own work, and I figured this was a great idea to kind of go in that door. So I broached the idea with Eileen, and she was up for it. And initially I wanted to submit it for the Seen and Heard Festival in Dublin. So we did that, and we kind of rehearsed it a bit and workshopped it. It didn't get in, which was actually probably a blessing in disguise, because that meant we said, we'll produce it ourselves and take it on the road. And we did that. I went back and wrote a new draft, and we workshopped that, rehearsed it. We got Emma Saunders to direct it. Emma has no association with autism, and that was actually another blessing in disguise, because she was able to make it more relevant to a general audience, where Eileen and I would know certain lingo and all that goes with autism and children with autism. She'd call us in that and say, look, I don't know what you're talking about there. That means a general audience isn't going to know what you're talking about. So it was great in that sense. Yeah, and the whole process, the whole way through, has been an incredible experience. We toured it. We opened it in 2023 in the Garage Theatre in Monaghan, and then toured it kind of around the northwest initially. Then I went back in the shelf for a year, and Eileen and I got together about this time last year and said, I'd like to do something maybe national with it. So, because I knew there was a bigger audience that hadn't seen it yet, that needed to see it and needed to see the message it delivers. And we did that, and we're 2 dates in now and loving it.
You are. It's going brilliantly. So, stage husband and wife, obviously.
Yes.
And do you know each other for long, Eileen?
Yeah, we've shared the stage before. Before The Flowers of May, we were done... Play by the Western World was actually the first play we ever did together, and I suppose our common denominator was, along being theatre and actors, was having a child with autism, because my son's 18 now, so I have a 20-year-old, an 18-year-old and 15 gone on 21-year-old, so I was you were starting your process when I was well into my process, and very different. It's different times, very different experiences. So I remember even when your youngest got diagnosed, Connor, that it was like we knew each other at that time, it was like, oh my God, you were going through this again, So so we've known each other. 6-7 years, I suppose.
Yeah, it's been a good while.
Yeah, so, and then I had asked, it was myself that wrote and directed Behaviour, the short film that we were doing, that kind of, as you were saying, we were doing that at the time. And because I was going through a lot of things at secondary school level with my son, and having a lot of things being brought up that were his behaviours that he couldn't control, but were being talked up as breaching code of conduct, and that even though he actually was doing, he couldn't step left out of the way. He couldn't do anything wrong if he tried. He's a beautiful soul. He's like a gentle giant, but if, you know, he asked more than 5 questions in class, he was getting written up, and there was kind of things like that happening, and it just was starting to really drive me mad. So we had a lot of conversations around that, because I was like, I knew those people, like children that was getting suspended for beating each other up in the schoolyard or smoking and doing all these mad things, and then I would get a phone call saying, well, Oisín can only ask 5 questions in class. He's, you know, and I was like, that's your line. That's what he's doing wrong. And then maybe he would take a different path to his class and be late. And they were like our biggest issues, that we were always getting these things. I was like, I know there's other stuff going on with other students are monumental. But he always broke the mold. He broke the mold. He was first to have an SNA in his primary school He was first to have an SNA, so that was a whole process. And then he broke the mold for a lot of things in the secondary school. So we'd say he's a little martyr. Like, you know, things will hopefully have changed due to him, but it was hard to be part of that process, and it's still happening. So I suppose when we would be talking, you were very much only starting that, but in a different Ireland, I like to think a little bit more advanced with things. So that's where that kind of then we would workshop, we would sit and we would talk and then we'd share stories, and then Matthew would come back and be like, I wrote this into the play, you know, I hope you don't mind. And you know, and it opened up a lot of things. It opened up subjects even that we had forgotten, that I remember we spoke with you, and then I'd go home and talk to my husband or talk to Oisín even about it, because obviously he was old enough to know that there was a play being written right now, and some of his personal stories were being used. So it was very much very important that he was involved in that, and that he was okay with that. That was because that's important for anybody, you know. So it was a personal journey, but yet it's fictional characters. So, but with
they're fictional characters, but they're definitely influenced by our own lives. And like every rehearsal, I don't want to say it's been like therapy, but there's definitely been therapeutic elements to it, because we talk through each scenario, and I remember loads of rehearsals where we'd be working on a particular scene, and then this would break into a whole big conversation about how we experienced this certain scenario in our lives, and we'd be an hour later going, we actually have to get some rehearsing done. So it's been great like that, because all of those chats have either worked the script or changed the script for the better, and it's really helped mold the story. And I have to say, the whole way through the rehearsal process, the amount of people I've met who I didn't realise had an association with autism, or had kids themselves, or had kids who were getting assessed, it's really opened up the world for me as well, because particularly at the start, I mean, when my eldest son Matthew first got his diagnosis, the overwhelming feeling was loneliness in a sense, or helplessness, because you think you're the only person going through this, because your peers or the people around you, your family, don't really have any experience of it, so you've nobody to turn to as such. And during the whole process of this, the amount of people who are either acquaintances or slight friends that I see every so often, that, my brother has a child with autism, or actually my daughter's getting assessed, or stories like that have just come to the surface, and it's really opened my eyes in that sense as well.
It's so beautifully written, amazingly performed by the two of you, and so endearingly presented to those of us who I have experienced myself from an educational perspective, because I was a teacher for 30 years. But whoever you are, whether or not this has ever touched your life, you're touched by the moment in that theatre, and you get it then, like you never got it before. And I think you certainly leave with the sense that if you didn't know anything, you want to know more.
Good.
Because I love the fact that you said a new Ireland, a different Ireland. That's so important.
It's very important. When Oisín didn't talk, so that was probably my first indication. And I'm one of these people, I'm a ruler outer. I'm not your typical Irish person that leaves things on the long finger, like most of my family. It's grand, it's only a pain, it'll go away. I'm one of these, like, let's figure out what that is, and then if it's nothing, we can not worry about it. So my oldest child, Francesca, came out walking and talking. And that's the only way I can put it. And I probably wasn't aware that she was even advanced, so I just thought, like, every child's going to come out like this. So she was walked at 10 months, was talking at 9 months, so she was just ruling the roost at home. So I had Oisín with literally a week shy of her 2nd birthday. And he hit all his milestones. He didn't cry when he was born, and he didn't cry, and people used to tell me how lucky I was. And I'm like, don't don't know. I think they should be crying. I think that's the way they communicate. And there was little things like if he was playing with a toy and he'd drop out of his hand, it would roll away. He couldn't be arsed to go after it, that sort of way. He'd pick up the next thing. If he had been any more laid back and he's still like this, he'd be horizontal. That's the only way I can explain it. And he was 14 days overdue, and I definitely think he came into the world the way he was always going to be, But so I kind of was like, right, he's not, he would point and he would do things, but there was just things I knew. I was like, So then I was pregnant with our third child very quickly, and I was like, his speech should be further on. So I remember rapping doors and doctors and that, and nobody would listen to me, Sheila. Like nobody, because he walked at 15 months. He did hit certain milestones, and I kept saying, no, there's something here, right? And I had a doctor say, will you give the child a chance? Right. And I remember thinking, I am trying to give my child a chance. I was getting frustrated. And I decided then, so I was due Gabriella in the New Year's Eve. And it was maybe September, October. And I started ringing around for speech and language classes or for delayed speech. And I got talking to somebody and they said, well, there's a parent class coming up. Maybe that would be helpful for you. And I said, well, even if I could just get something. I said, because I know I'm going to have a baby and it's going to be 6 months before anything can be done again, because I'm going to get busy with a baby, and this is what happens. Yeah. And so I went to this, and the more I kind of listened, I kind of went, is it his hearing? And is it, so I was at this, listening to the parents talk, and I was going, and still now the word autism did not exist in my vocabulary or anybody I knew's vocabulary, right? This is about 15 years ago. So I knew nobody. Like you're saying, people were coming up to you, but I actually knew nobody. I knew the only thing I knew about autism was Rain Man, and that was it. So I went private to get his hearing checked, and at the time it was really, I had Gabriella, and she was a baby, and I remember it was a really warm day, and that time Oisin wouldn't put like shorts and t-shirts on him, and I remember anyway, we went in for the appointment, and she had this little table and chairs and all that. And he wasn't there 5-10 minutes. And she said, has anyone ever mentioned the word autism to you? And I said, no. And she said, and then I kind of was like, oh my God. And I remember I went outside and I actually vomited because I knew nothing. It was like being told my child had some incurable disease or something. I don't know. She was like, I'm going to send a letter, if you don't mind, to a doctor called Dr. van der Speck, and just see, can he see Oisin? She said, but I think that's the path he's on. But Oisin's always been between a rock and a hard place. He never fits the category or the typical. He's high achiever, but yet socially there's been, so kind of, he could very much pass with certain things, and then there's other things that have been bigger milestones. So because again, as I said, he was hitting milestones, head nurse and everybody was like, no, I think it's just delayed. So it was very hard to get him to listen to me. But we got the ball rolling, and then he was diagnosed at 3.5 years old. So, and I do remember psychologists came in and said he was so borderline at the time. They didn't, and then we were kind of like, oh, then why did you give him the diagnosis? Yeah. And he said, because he's borderline now. And when he's 7 and he's stimming somewhere or he needs help, you're not going to get it because he doesn't have this label. Yeah. And he said, a child in Ireland needs a label, which broke my heart. Because nobody should need a label. It should just be, if there's a service that should be there. And the services weren't there. Yeah. So when we had it, that was the thing. Is like, I actually can't say when Oisin was seen in a public appointment last. He's now turned 18 2 weeks ago. But definitely it's been 5+ years since we had a public appointment. Anything we've done has been private. I then started in childcare because I wanted to learn about the development of a child, and I started to educate myself to the point that I was at a doctor's appointment, psychologist appointment with Oisin, and they started giving me courses that I could take because the services weren't there. There was such a backlog. So it was like, well, if you're doing courses, here's one that would be really beneficial. And I get it too, because if you're only seeing someone half an hour a week, you have to do the work at home, and that's your priority, and then you become their teacher, as we do with all our children. Yes. But there's that, and then there was little things I had learned, like I'm a talker, and he wasn't talking. I remember a doctor saying to me, "Are you giving him time to talk?" And there was certain things I was like, "Am I now?" And so it ended up. Then I went into being a preschool teacher originally, and then like worked being an AIM support worker, and that because I got very heavily involved in helping and wanting to be involved in helping children just develop, because they all develop differently and it's such a vast scale, So Yeah, so he's amazing now. But when he did start talking in sentences. So he was taking it in. We were very blessed.
Yeah.
He was retaining it. We didn't know that at the time. But I remember the first time he came in and asked me for a juice. I was emptying the dishwasher. I can't think what age he was. He was definitely over 3. And he just said juice. And I started, oh my God, what do you want? Do you want a juice? Oh my God. I dropped the cup and the whole lot. And I remember I scared the child so much. I could see his face going, I'm not asking her for that again. So I was like, oh God. But, you had these moments and it's been a beautiful journey, a challenging journey. Parenting is a challenge. And I think that's important to just say that out loud because it's not just different because of that, because each child has their own needs or wants, but he's definitely taught me more about life than I'll ever teach him.
Oh, bless. That's a lovely way to look at it. And parenting is, as you say, a challenge, but there is that different element to it when you're challenged to look for resources, just to keep things right, just to be on a safe path with your child, just not to miss a trick.
Oh, this is it. And I always say Gabriella, and she quotes it back to me now, but I say she was reared in a car because he was at appointments where I was taking him someone, I was trying to, so she was reared in a car, she was a car baby, and now when I say things were like about going places, and she said, well, I was a car baby, and I'm like, don't use it back at me. But
and is it Gabriella that's helping at the play? Oh my goodness, she's amazing. Well, car rearing is the way to do it. Yeah. She is the model child. She's fantastic.
Thank you. No, they're all good, thank God. They're all healthy, Sheila. And that's the touch wood. Amazing. That's the main thing, isn't it? Amazing. Everything after that you can work with. But
yeah, well, you can when you're as resourced as you are as well, Eileen. It sounds to me like the children are as lucky to have chosen you as their mammy, if whatever is the faith practice of one's own choosing. But I always choose to believe that our children choose us because they check the world over to see who's the mammy and the daddy that will be my guardrail and my guide. And I think they've chosen very well.
Thank you. And it's such a funny thing to say. It was a beautiful thing to say, but the day he got diagnosed, my cousin, who owns a preschool, owns a whole crash, but she rang me and she said, well, and I was like, we were in the car, we're kind of crying and trying to process, and she's like, well, I'm delighted, she said. And I said, excuse me? And she said, no, she said, it's great for you. She said, because he deserves you and you deserve him. And it was a lovely thing, but when she was saying it on the day, I was like going, sorry?
I'm not sure how I feel about this, but
like exactly what you are saying there now, and look, I'm one of these, same with theatre, everything else, even if we're not getting funding, I produce the play, so I'm rapping every door in every theatre, and I'm like, you want this play? I just don't lie down, I'm kicking doors down left, right and centre.
You are a Duracell bunny.
Yeah.
That is for sure.
I've been called worse, Sheila.
Oh.
Don't even go there. I'm afraid our pre-air chat might come up. Matthew, then when we talk about the continuum, and Eileen has given us this lovely introduction to Oisín and his journey heretofore, is it the same for you, or is every experience with every child with autism different? Not even, just in families, but with each individual case?
Well, listen, like in my own case, I've 3 children with autism. So I've Matthew, he's coming 10. I've David, he's 4, and Connor 3, and they all have their differences. Matthew is incredibly social. He knows more people than I do. He'd be walking through town, he's like, hello, Mary, and I'm like, sorry, who's that? Why do you know her and I don't? David is very much contained in his own kind of world, and he's getting better, but he definitely does not like a social environment. Like, he's very much happy in himself. Connor is a bit more sociable now. He was quite delayed in the sense that he's only started walking and he's 3, and he's still not talking. He's a couple of words, but nothing conversational. David is slowly starting to get some conversational words. Like, Matthew didn't speak any kind of conversational vocabulary till he was 5, and he is an example of the big fear I find when we started out, or when he got his diagnosis, was the fear of not knowing what the future held. And that was a massive fear for us, but particularly when he got his diagnosis at first, because it's all the scenarios, all the stigmas that we talk about in the play that we kind of believed ourselves because we knew nothing, were all there. Like, Matthew's now, he's in the local youth theatre, like, he's been on the stage a couple of times. So, like, the idea of that even 5 years ago was so alien to me. Like, so that sense, it's come good. But David is very much in his own wee world. So he'd be complete opposite to Matthew in the sense that he'd much rather stay in the house and kind of stay in his own. So I'd worry about him moving forward. I worry about them all. Like Matthew's on the cusp of becoming a teenager now, and that's I've heard from a number of people that's a whole different kind of journey. So that again is something I'm quite fearful of. There is an element to it of the father that doesn't really get talked about an awful lot, the father's journey, and that was a topic I really wanted to cover in the play. Actually coming out of the play a number of times, even in the last tour, the amount of men that came up to me with tears in their eyes who really resonated with it, which I really took to heart because it's what I wanted to achieve. And I talk about like taking Connor in the play, taking him to like the playground, and the fact that he's not able to converse with the other kids, and he's stimming away, and they're kind of looking at him, wondering what's wrong with him, kind of thing, and not being able to do anything about it as such because they're only kids, but at the same time, kind of my heart breaking inside of me, and that aspect of it that nobody sees on the outside, and then introducing them to that, I really wanted to get into because it is quite an internal world in that sense, and there is a lot of battles you fight behind closed doors that nobody sees. Yeah.
We have had over 500,000 hits in just 2.5 months. We are buzzing and we are so grateful. Now, I'm sure, like me, you know somebody right now who needs to hear what we've just been chatting about. So go on, share it. Consider it like an investment in the emotional bank account in the sky. Keep liking, reviewing, sharing. Let's keep those algorithms rising with us. Remember, subscribing to us is vibing with us. We're manifesting, so jump on, hit subscribe, YouTube, Spotify, surf the moment with us. There's plenty to go around. All you have to do is click that subscribe button, crack open our moment, and make it yours too. I can see that.
Now, one of the great things, I often laugh when people say, what do the arts contribute to society? I think that stuff like this is why the arts is so important, because a piece of theatre, for example, I think it can contribute to a situation maybe so much more than any other outlets can. Like I can show you what living with autism is, and instead of talking about it, like, welcome into my world. Okay? Let me give you a tour, and an audience gets it warts and all. That scenario.
And I think it's really important that we don't tell everybody's story, and it's not everybody's experience, but everybody has walked away feeling seen. And I took that away from people. Even the other night, I had 2 women that I know personally, and one has 3 children with autism, and another has 2, and they came up the other night, and our experiences are worlds apart, absolute worlds apart, but they still felt seen by the play. And again, I think you're right. It's theatre is a special magic place that you can do things like that, and I love telling the social story and showing, like, it's dark and dark at times, but there's so much light shone on it, and that's what we do so well in Ireland as well. We put the light with the dark, and and that's what we've had people say. Oh, I found myself laughing and then crying, and but definitely, you have a monologue about the dad is beautiful, and we've often talked about that, like me and Frank, not specifically your monologue, but even our experiences are so different. That I remember we were at attending one of the appointments, and someone had said to me, you need to start stepping back and letting Daddy step in now. And she was turning teenager at the time, and I was like, sorry, you want me to do what, my son? And we've been through so much highs and lows and low lows, very low lows, that to trust people, and not to not trust my husband, of course I trust him because he's best interest, but outside of that circle, sometimes you're like, you don't get it, he needs this. But when you do step back and let that happen, let Daddy take over maybe a bit more, Nanny and Grandad come in a bit more, and that it's beautiful, the relationships that can develop and that as well. But it's tough, isn't it?
And it does take a village to rear any child, not least when there are specific and special needs.
Oh, it takes a village, and I know my experience. I'm blessed, a wonderful village, And since I've had a niece diagnosed, I've had 2 cousins with children now with autism. Like our village has grown, and the understanding is amazing. And but we were kind of the first, but and I was supposed to always talked openly about it. I think that's very, very important. But I don't think people know what to do or what to say to you. That was kind of something that I found, was people didn't know what to say or what to do or how to help, are afraid to do the wrong thing, you know, the fear that's there. And
sometimes they overcomment. I noticed you said in the play, well, they must overcomment, I can gather, because you said, and it was beautifully depicted, and it really resonated with me. I could feel your pain when you said, yeah, and then she dared to say, well, he looks grand. Sure, you know, so people presume, and on the optics, that was the part.
Sheila, I can't even tell you. Yeah. I think I have 3 beautiful children anyway, but my son looks so healthy and wonderful. God, I'm so emotional, sorry. And the amount of people that have said to me, oh God, he's such a good looking lad. Sorry?
Yeah.
Why wouldn't he be? God love him.
And your surprise is why?
God love him. And he's such a good look. And Oisín grew, he's nearly 6 foot. Don't ask me where he got that from, honest to God. I do not know. But anyway, I know I had him. But he's tall, and he was tall like oh, bless him. Like, he was the year, like, he never got closure in 6th class because it was COVID, and his confirmation kept getting delayed, and, you know, and he never got finished in one thing to start properly, and especially the child that needed it more than ever, you know. But we were in lockdown for them 3-4 months, whatever, and he went from a size 5 shoe to a size 12. He went from boys' teenage clothing to men's large, like, in months, Sheila, when everything was closed. And so he's a big man, he's a tall, and he's gorgeous. He's fabulous. I'm biased, but he is fabulous. But I would get that said to me so regular. And you know, when he made his first communion, he had a teacher who had an SNA at school, and she made sure that he did a reading because he's so capable, right? So capable. But she was the first to see it, I think, of a lot of people, and she didn't tell me he was doing a reading. And at the service anyway, he got up and oh my God, it was like winning the lotto. But people stopping me afterwards. Oh, didn't your lad do great? Wasn't he brilliant? I couldn't believe it. And I was like, what made you think he couldn't read? What made you think that he wasn't capable, right? Then things hurt a lot, and people mean well. No, but they were actually telling me they were delighted for me.
Yes.
So I had to, you know, it's your expectations of other people that let you down all the time. But I had to really step out of myself for a minute and go, people are actually really think that he done well, and they're trying to be so lovely about it. But I was getting like, why couldn't he? You know, and you know, you're from a rural village, and he didn't play football, and everybody else plays football, and you know, there was a lot of that sort of thing. So to see him probably achieve something was beautiful for the parish. You know what I mean? And people were like, oh yeah. But I remember the time at that kind of, you know,
I know when somebody expresses something in the vein of it being empathic, but it comes across as sympathy, pity.
But it's how we receive it too, Sheila, is our own receiving of it. But that was a long process for me to, like, Oisín didn't go back to 6th year this year. He was very badly bullied last year, and we had to take a different path, because to me, his mental health is so important, and for all my children. And we're very blessed in Ireland in one sense. There's so many different paths, but it took another big challenge of me accepting that. So when I was dropping my other daughter to school in September, I'm so sorry guys, I got so emotional. When I was dropping my other daughter to school, I had a lot of anger there in September, because he would have been in 6th year. He should have done his leaving cert. He didn't get to finish 6th class. But I knew we made the right decision. He has grown so much in the last couple of months. Oh my God, Sheila, he's
a new man.
Oh, he's a new man, isn't he? He's absolutely, because I didn't probably realise how badly he was being affected last year. And it was another student that told her mother what she'd witnessed, and this had been going on for quite a while. But anyway, fortunately, that's another part. There'll be Flowers Made Part 2, I think. But I don't know where I was going with this trail of thought. I'm so sorry.
We're kind of talking about it's how you receive people's comments. Really, you have to step into your own power.
Yes, and I had people there up to even recently. Like, I think if it had been one of my other children that hadn't gone back to complete their secondary school, you know, they would have been, oh, is she okay? Are they okay? I've been asked that once. I've got told lots of times that, oh, maybe it was best for him. Sorry?
I know. Yeah.
Well, who gets to say that was the best for him? We made that decision. He actually made that decision. When this all came out at the end of the last school term, there was meetings, there was a lot of things going on. We had to get a lot of counselling. There was a lot of things, you know, and I was sat him down when the school finished, and I said, do you want to go back there in September? And he was like, no. And I was like, then you don't go back there in September. You're going to be 18. We will find a course for you. We'll find your path.
Yeah.
And we have, thank God, and it's working so far. But you have to, again, be resourceful. Go knock the doors.
Yeah, for sure.
And
where is he gone? Is it a solace course?
He's with National Learning Network in Monaghan doing
yeah.
Skills for Life, and he hopes to do animation in Cav, and that's the plan. He loves that, animation and drawing, and yeah, he's very gifted that way. So, very gifted anyway. But so yeah, that would be one of his strengths. That's the hope. But at the minute, he's stuck into cooking, and that's good crack.
Amazing.
It's great until every pot in the house is filthy.
I know, but of course you're going to give them free rein. But you'd give any of them.
That's what I say. It's his turn now.
Yes,
you know, like where Francesca's had hers, and she's gone on. She's in second year of college doing teaching, primary school teaching. So, and I do think she's guided through her experiences with her brother. You know, and I think it'll make her a fantastic teacher, which is fantastic. You know, but sorry.
But just to echo that, I mean, there's a bit that your character says in the play. Do you remember that time in M&S? And that was based off a number of times that we used to do our shopping in Dunn's, and Matthew has this, he's an incredibly social guy. He'll go up to you and say, hello, what's your name, kind of thing, and straight out, like, and my wife would explain, well, he's autism, like, and all that, and he says, he doesn't look autistic, isn't it great? Like, as if to say, like, aren't you so lucky, kind of thing. Like, I'm like, well, no, and he's a great kid and all that, but he does have his own issues behind the scenes that nobody sees, and they're relevant, you know, they're not to be mocked. But even like David, my youngest, I mean, he's in preschool now, and the preschool parents WhatsApp group that they send photos through of their activities, and the amount of times we've got photos through of all the kids doing their big group activity, and there's David out on his own because he can't integrate in, he just can't handle it, like, and it's heartbreaking, but it's particularly for my wife. She takes it very hard. I think I've only kind of clocked this recently. I must have developed some kind of self-preservation thing where I just managed to kind of shut off from it emotionally and just kind of let it go from my head, because I can see it eating her alive. Particularly because we've 3, and there is that element, and it's going to sound horrible, but you do go through a sort of a mourning period. I look at other families with neurotypical kids experiencing different things, and I'm like, look, we're never going to get that. We're never going to experience that. And that there is that moment when it is, mourning is the best way I can describe it, because
but then you will, I promise you'll come to the side and realise that what you didn't get didn't matter, because what you've got is just...
That's pure parent, because the quickest way to your heart as a parent is through your child. But I'm wondering, now, correct me if I'm wrong here, I'm hearing as well, I'm feeling, I'm cupping my hands in under the light in your heart, Matthew, as I hear the stories that are so different on the continuum. Because I wonder, your children are so much younger, you said, and the play depicts it so beautifully, how worried you are for their future, particularly by comparison with neurotypicals, and watching the neighbours. We'll talk about that piece in a minute, which I think is so significant. But also, as we've said, every case is so different. So if you have somebody else that you're best friends with whose child is neurodivergent, but they're accessing a curriculum, and that there's a loneliness, there's a disenfranchised grief even within that. Am I right in saying that? Because again, comparison would be the thief of joy. We're definitely not going to do that. But even within this space, well, look, if my child was going to have that challenge, why, dear Lord, could it not have had the challenge to that extent? Why does it have to be to this extent? Does that happen, Matthew? Do you feel sometimes that you're so concerned for them and you're already having to fight for resources for them, but then there's that extra piece? Well, even the other children with autism, you know, are moving more quickly through the milestones.
I mean, we're fighting to get Matthew fully mainstream now. He's kind of half and half between the ASD unit and the mainstream class, and like we're firmly of the belief that he's well able to handle mainstream, and like he's had 1 or 2 friends go into the mainstream, and I'm like, well, he can do it. Why not let him go? Like, and again, that's one of the many battles we're fighting. And like, he has a great school, and I'm not dissing the school or anything. He's great teachers and all that kind of thing. But
you need to champion them all the time, though, don't you? Is there dual enrolment now? It's quite a while since I've left. I should know this. I know. Certainly at one point we weren't allowed dual enrolment. So can children be in a mainstream class and access a unit, and then in a unit and access a mainstream class until they're fully mainstream? At secondary
well, he's half and half.
At secondary school, there is, you can use the unit and mainstream. So she might have had up to the 3rd year, and then he was fully mainstream after that. But
is that maybe where the bullying happened then, Eileen? Do you feel when he hit mainstream?
It's not do you know what happened? And this is not against anybody that does LCA. That Oisín's very, very intelligent, and we decided he suffers a lot of anxiety around exams. So junior cert, he actually had grey hairs coming on his head with junior cert. So we were like, right, well, he's not going to sit traditional leaving cert. The supports, there are supports there. They're just not sufficient enough for some people. Okay, so we talked about LCA, and he hemmed and hawed. Again, he has to make his own decisions, and we're very lucky that he's capable, right? So we hemmed and hawed. We talked to career guidance and principal, and we decided to go that route. Now, did I have numerous teachers saying to me, "Don't do this to him. You know, he's honours maths. He's this, that, and the other." And I was like, "Yeah, but we need to make sure he's in the right environment." Like, Stephen Hawkins was a genius, but he still needed fed and dressed. Okay, so you can have this level, but you need the support system. We need the scaffolding, okay? And the scaffolding has to be there for the building to stand sometimes, okay? While you're building the building. The scaffolding would not have been there, and yet the building would have been still progressing. Okay, so we had to really look at the bigger picture. Now, were we in LCA a couple months and Oisín was like, this isn't for me. But we were already in that. Okay, so then we seen the changes come in behaviour. And when I say the change in behaviour, very distressed about the state of the world, very distressed about Trump getting into power and things like that were making, injustice of things. This is probably where the bullying was starting, and it was targeted bullying, as in shutting down his laptop, blocking the doorway, blocking toilets. So there was maybe 10 instances a day, not being took out and beaten up particularly, but tell him they need to lose his virginity, tell him that they would take him to the pub and make, all this whispering in the ears, all this kind of stuff. So that was going on. And listen, Sheila,
my
write
goodness.
a book.
I'm worried for those children as well who need guidance.
Completely.
I'm worried for the dearth of good guidance in their lives.
Yeah, I had to win. There was 3 particular children involved, and when it all came out and we were in at schools, one has, when he sees me on the street, will actually turn and just stare me out of it. And I was like, and I said that to the principal, I was like, that's very worrying. Very, very, very worrying what's going on in society, because they're all on the cusp of turning out into adults. But I have to look after my son, and that's what they wrote out. And not that the school has, yes, I have a lot of feelings about what happened with Oisín and that, but yeah, I have 2 children that have done extremely well in the school. But they're neurotypical and high achievers and wouldn't have had the challenges they met. So yeah, there was definitely the autism unit into the mainstream with the LCA. So you're just kind of trying to find your path the whole time. And Oisín was the type of child that would decide he's going to do something, and then it happens, right? Like tying his shoelaces. I never thought he'd tie his shoelaces. I never thought he'd share on his own. I never thought so many things on. I mean, Frank sits sometimes going, how are we here? How are we here? Because I promise you, Matthew, we were where you were. We were just going, oh my God, and yet seeing he's, for the first time ever, he has a friend.
Yeah.
You can't go out and buy friends for your children. That. You can't. He never had, and even you're saying Matthew, his friends moved on, never actually had a friend. Now, did he seek them out? So I would have thought, is he being included? But then I would say, is he seeking them out? Is he seeking out the company? Hindsight's 2020, right? So sometimes you have to see these situations on the other side as well. And but now at the minute, he has a friend and they're texting and different things like that, and it's a whole new social experience because he's 18 and he's double checking, is this how I do this? And I'm like, oh my God, we're the girls' sword in that department, and so it's so back to the school. I don't know where things
changed.
I
just wonder when they're in the safety of a centre for autism or a unit.
But see, not every centre for autism is safe.
Okay,
Sheila, right?
wow.
And I would say a lot of parents would feel that way, and I'm going to say something's very controversial. And but just because it's an autism centre doesn't mean everyone that works there is brilliant at what they do, right? And I do think that's something that I've had a lot of conversations with parents regarding. So we do have this thing in Ireland that we go, oh, aren't they great? They're in there working with 20 children that have autism. She's brilliant. He's brilliant, right? Meanwhile, the children from autism might be coming home going, well, they made me rewrite that reflection twice today because I'm not writing it right, which is a true story on my behalf, right? How can your reflection be wrong if your experience of something, right? So there's different things to that. So we had to go back to schools about things like that going, right, okay. So there does need to be, they need to be observed as much as every other teacher and that. So some people learn how to work with children with autism through textbook. Right, but you have to learn how every child has different needs and likes and wants, and that's true. Building relationships with parents, building relationships with the children, and some people have that mindset of I'm doing the right thing because this is what I've been taught, right? And I do think that is changing a lot because we have a lot of Ireland is changing, and it's changed for the better. But I definitely there's a lot of work to be done, and that's not even just on the staff. That's through schools. Educating them. Yeah. Department of Education getting involved.
Sure, it's even human skills in general,
100%.
everywhere. So, you know, and human skills can be taught. A lot of people don't have empathy. And just because that's such a valid point, and I honour you for saying it, because it requires a lot of energy to put your head above the parapet and say that, because the common position is, aren't they great?
But I've had told that so many times.
But that's...
And it's not a lot. There is amazing staff people, and I've known them and worked with them. But definitely there's some that now I will, when I hear people are becoming an SNA or a teacher, I love to sit down and talk to them and say, what's driving you in this now? And when I hear, the hours, I go, I'm in trouble a little bit here because, you know, you're going to need a lot more than the want of the hours.
You're amazing, Eileen. You're kind of bringing on the HPAT for SNA's notion, or the competencies, you know, because with due respect to the system, you can actually do a weekend course on Open University and or a 5-week course, 6-week course, and or your year long, or you're right. The qualification to get in the door, and there's such a dearth of skill set available. Like the Department of Education can't keep teachers in classrooms. I'm sure, never mind SNAs, and there's probably so much turnover in terms of sick leave that you're right. We can't let that be the excuse to not audit the calibre of person
100%.
And their motivation.
And upskilling, and things are constantly changing, and different needs are being met, and we're coming up with new brands. When I was going through all this discussion, I was doing a play there in June in Millbank, ladies do, and one of the ladies that was acting with me, she worked with special education, and I was going through this at the time, and I was saying I don't know what to do, and she was naming all these services that I was not aware of. My son was 17. The Northeast definitely is somewhere that fails a lot for services, but I was like going, how are we two different worlds? I definitely feel like our children are definitely second-class citizens. I don't know, I've been just literally started following a page called Sunny's Dream about a parent that's literally trying to get her child into start school, and he'd started this week, which is amazing after the midterm. But the room wasn't there, or the services weren't being met, or whatever it was. But I remember when I was starting, Oisin started in Lockmore school, and they had an autism unit, and that was his preschool. He was sent after he was diagnosed. And the very first week he started, the head teacher came out, Michelle, and she said, he needs more than we can give. You know, he needs more than we can give him, or something.
Our resources can't meet his needs.
But that's not what she said. And I kept saying, oh my God, is he worse than we think? And she was like, I can't legally say what, but she was trying to tell me he needed mainstream, right? She felt that that's the road we should have went, and it was kind of guided through the year they would start mainstream. Oh my God. So we started the roads, registered to start in mainstream that September. But because he was after being in a specialist school, the red tape was I didn't get to choose anymore. So as a parent, you get to choose where you send your child, but if they're in a specialist school, now it's not in your hands anymore. Okay, so now you need all the assessments done, you need Department of Education involved. So, and then there was a deadline for the March to get him in for an SNA and to get him started in mainstream. I had the support of the school he was attending, I had all this. Do you see the red tape? It was unbelievable. I remember running down the deadline was like 12 o'clock, and there had been the person had assessment the week before, was then struck off the books. That getting used to, you couldn't write it, I'm telling you. And we've got it in time, we got started, everything. But it was just, it was like the power was, you have to be
so enduring.
Oh,
so
100%,
enduring.
yeah.
So your wife, Matthew, in your case, is carer to your 3 children.
No, she's full-time carer. She's a superwoman. If I'm away working on a project, she holds the fort. Like, and she does. She's a great job at it. Like, she's incredible. I mean, there are 3 kids with 3 different needs, and it's a lot to take on for anybody. Never mind a parent of 3 additional needs. But I don't know how she does it half the time. Like, I mean, when I'm home, I'm obviously helping out and doing my bit. Like, but when I'm working, it's basically falls to her.
I know, and she's amazing, and I love that you know that and acknowledge it's so important.
Yeah.
And even as we chatted about before we started recording, albeit that you do, and there's no doubt but that you do, and that you adore them, and part of your immortalising their special place in your heart is in the play, as well as everything else that you do. But there's a part in the play that I found so interesting and so real and so raw, and I really applauded your creativity for dropping it in subjectively there, where Daddy gets scuthered and passes out peacefully on the couch, and Mammy comes in and batters him with the cushion. So real. But Daddy could very likely decide he was so hurt. I won't steal your moment. Tell us about that part in the play.
The play is basically they've come home from a restaurant. There's been an instant where a random person has basically kind of said, that child should be taught some manners, and the child was having a meltdown, just incredibly overwhelmed with the situation. It wasn't bad behaviour, but this person had took upon themselves to basically admonish them in public without realising what was going on. And I've had many instances, particularly during lockdown and stuff like that, where you do kind of take to the drink, but when things get really, really difficult and you just kind of want to numb it a bit, like I've never been that bad. I kind of hammed it up in the play a bit just for the comedic effect a wee bit, like. But there are times when you just need to numb it a bit, and just it's not trauma. I wouldn't go so far. Well, maybe it is trauma. I don't know, but there's a lot of unseen things that go on that it's very hard to talk to people about because they can't relate. And I'm lucky I'm working with Eileen, so she knows what I'm going through, that kind of thing. Like, but particularly like with my parents, for example, and as brilliant as they are, and as much as they try to help, they don't really understand what's going on. So it's very hard to kind of relate to them a certain situation.
Which, by the way, you depict so amazingly in the play as well. That is perfectly plotted and seamlessly woven into the play as well. That mummy, darling, yes, mummy, yes, mother, and the mother-in-law, daughter-in-law piece as well is beautifully done, because the daughter-in-law is so full of love as a person that even though the mother-in-law is an absolute pain in her posterior, she can see the good in her, and she can see that she's doing her best with the wisdom and knowledge she has. It's definitely a play that everybody needs to get out and see, whether they are a parent of a child with autism and they just need to give themselves permission to bring that out of their shadow, bring it out of their backpack.
But not everybody wants to see something if they're going through it either. But I promise you, when you come see it, you're going to feel seen, and bring someone along that you want to see this journey. When we had it previously in Downtown a couple of years ago, a colleague of my husband's came to see it, and just probably out of politeness knew I was in a play, and he goes to theatre. I didn't particularly know the gentleman, and he left that night without saying goodbye or whatever. But Monday morning, my husband went to work and he called him into the office and he said, "Can I speak with you?" And my husband's like, "Yeah." And he said, "I was at your wife's play the other night." And he said, "I was so emotional, I actually couldn't stay by to congratulate her. They don't have children with autism or disabilities." He couldn't relate on that sense. But he had children and he'd reared them, and they were grown-up children. So on his way home that night, he'd seen his son's car outside a pub, and he went in, and the son was like, "Oh, Jesus, Dad, what are you doing here?" And he said, "I just seen your car, I thought I'd come in and buy you a drink." And he was the friend, and he was like, "Yeah, all right, Dad?" And he's like, yeah. No, he said, "I just wanted to buy," he said, and he threw him up a drink, and he said, "Did I ever tell you that I love you?" He said to the son, and the son was like, "Are you dying?" He was like, "No." And then he said, "I was trying to explain to them I was after been at this play, and it made me think of them." And so I took that and I said, I'm going to keep that in a special place in my heart. That was somebody that didn't have experience, but just even for parenting or having a parent, or just as you said, the neighbours, the mother-in-law, we all have that, so you'll get something from it, and you'll laugh and hopefully cry.
You will indeed. There's another gorgeous moment where you guys, and it's so, I have to say, salute to the director as well. It's seamlessly directed. It's stunning how two people and a couch on a stage can create so many dimensions. So hats off to Emma Saunders as well. It is Emma Saunders. Yes.
Right, yeah.
So you, at one point, and it's, you move in and out of so many layers of storytelling so seamlessly that you really could have a cast of 20 people up there depicting something bigger, because we get a bigger picture when we watch it. But at one point, we've gone from you, the daddy, stimming Matthew to support the story that's being told and to give us that multi-layered visual, if you like. And not too long hence then we have the moment where Mammy and Daddy are watching out the window again at the neighbours. And lots of things happen in one moment. For me in the audience, I saw, yes, as you've suggested before, that comparison with neurotypical, that element of envy. We all have a sin of envy within us that we have to surmount in our journey, because it's very restrictive if we don't, and reduces us and constricts us. But also then the sadness for your own child that they're not there. And then the moment, and this is the part I was dying to ask you about. So they're the obvious moments to me. But then there was the moment where, you know, the neighbours are being unfaithful. I don't want to give it all away either, you know. But there's a reference to how somebody else will have their own ordinary problems, if you like.
Yes.
But it's extraordinary, really, when you compare it to what you guys are going through. And that big, huge cuddle, which we all felt in the audience, we'll hold tight to each other, won't we? You know, that moment. Where did that come from? Or in your own stories, I think, Eileen, maybe you had referenced marriage, how marriage struggles.
Yeah, not even struggles, but I think your relationship changes. Like, God be good to us, I'll be 22 years married now in December next month. And, you know, you just, being a parent, you know, everything. We moved country together. We've been married twice. He was in the army. He was at war. You know, we've had a massive journey, and I think by the time we probably got diagnosed with Eileen, or she diagnoses even, it was like, oh right, this is what we're doing now. Okay, this path, you know, and you're just constantly changing, but you have to remember to change together. And remember that you're both on this journey together. And of course there's times, like we've never, thank God, had very bad struggles, but there's definitely been times it's been hard. 100%. And wanting to approach things differently, I think, is a big thing, you know. And you're not getting where I'm coming from, I'm not getting, and then, you know, but my husband's my best friend, genuinely. And is there times I want to kill him? Oh God, yes. But could I imagine my world without him? Not for anything, you know. And you love your partner different than you love your children. I think that's very important, that they're different relationships, you know. And he's the person I want to, and I've talked to us about you when you go through something really hard. As much as I might be angry and all that, he's the one that I need to hold me and to make me feel like it's going to be okay. Because sometimes I'm too much of a pillar, right? And I can be built on. I'm like, what did you say? And, you know, and I'm like that in life. I think I just say this is, in fact, it's thick skin, you know. And but sometimes I just need to be held, you know. So I think that when we were discussing that, I was like, that moment is so important. That should be, because you need your best friend. You need that. The love. And
you hold the space in the silence of it, Matthew, so beautifully. The way you hug her, and on the couch as well, when you're, again, I don't want to be giving away too much, but when you're holding each other, there's that lovely touching and there's the endearment. We need that in the audience to remember that you are, that it's a trauma-informed family. And we need to pick up on that.
Yeah, well, I mean, this whole experience, whether it be autism or whatever else, it makes or breaks you as a couple. So, I mean, when we're at a stage now where we've had so much thrown at us that we're able to bounce it off together and work together. Like, we've kind of worked out where we stand and how each other works, and worked out how we work as a team. Like, so, and like, I'll echo you, like me and Catherine, we're best friends. We're a team, you know, and we're a solidified team at this stage. And I think that moment is to probably remind an audience that it might be a small army, but it takes an army to get through a situation like this. And you need to have each other's backs, and don't always, like you said, Catherine and I have argued like cats and dogs over the years at different points, but we always come back together, and we always remember that, you know, the boys need us as a team, and they don't need a broken family. Of all the needs to do, the last thing they need is a broken family. So and we've always came back that it's not about us, it's about them, and we are. But
you also need about you separate, and I think that's the thing, is realizing that relationship. I'm hitting the point where my children are nearly reared, so we're getting back to having time some way, somehow. I don't know how. I'm hoping this
You're
is what
filling all of it. You are not leaving it to chance.
Do you know? So you have to keep that strong without the children. Does that make sense? So your relationship.
It does make sense, Eileen. And however, you're blessed to be at the point where, albeit that you're going through this journey, you are getting to a point where there's an element of independence in each of the children. They're each growing into their own blossoming, beautiful self.
100%, yeah.
But you might have children, again...
Well, we won't always have it. Like, not all our children are going to be... Like, we've realised that, with a lot of things. So there's just people that won't ever be independent.
Yes, do you know, like some children with autism...
Well, that's what I'm saying. We, like, Oisín cooking at the minute and stuff like that. And I'm like, I'm celebrating these massive milestones at the minute with him. But I'm also aware that I have to stand in the kitchen and be very guiding of certain things. And, do you have this and do you have that? And will I be doing that when he's 30?
I know.
Maybe. And that's, and that's okay. But there's...
Yeah.
The 18 hit me very different than his 10.
Yes.
And when he was 10, we went through enough about mental health where he was suicidal. And we had gone through it. And that was a massive, massive, massive challenge. He developed a vocal tic and he didn't know how to stop it. And he felt it was disrupting the class. And there was a lot of things with that. So, but he was still my little boy. Now he's a grown man, but still my boy.
Of course.
He physically looks like a grown man and a lot of his behaviours have matured. But, he's still...
You're amazing. And can I salute the play again and you did explain that to me when I was in on Thon with you the other night. I'm going to get you to tell us all in a few minutes where we can catch you, wherever we are around the country. But that beautiful moment was written in, so it comes from your life experience, Eileen, and it's just so poignant and amazingly written in. I think you had a rehearsal after, one of your times I think you were explaining to me, Matthew, you had a rehearsal, Eileen shared that story and you wrote it in, is that?
Yeah, I sent it to her fully expecting her not wanting to go near it, like, because I was like, look, if you don't want to do this, that's perfectly fine. Like, but in credit to her, she said, we'll do it. And I don't want to speak for you on how it was going through that, but I mean, it definitely adds an element of the story that
different every show. It hits very different every show. It hit different 2 years ago, and with the year we've just had, it definitely hits very different. But it's so important. Oisín felt it was important. Frank felt it was important. It's so important because they feel deep feelings. We can't other them. We are all the same. We are human beings with a beating heart that love and deserve love and feel everything. I feel every refusal, feel every, especially if have put themselves forward for something or they're aware that, they hit the age of awareness. And I'm not sure if that happens with all children. Like, I'm sure that it is a spectrum, I suppose. But the awareness is huge when that happens. When they feel different. And you'll move mountains for your children. You'll absolutely... But there's certain mountains you cannot move no matter how you push and how you push. And I suppose this is why it was important to include this, because even that awareness of that.
Oh, yeah.
And again, people have gone through it or have not gone through it. Please God, it's the latter for most people. It's just really, really important that people are aware of their feelings.
Oh, yeah.
And that and children are just... They're deep thinkers, and even if they're non-verbal or that, they're so aware. They're aware, and that's really very important.
We need the play, and as you say, we need theatre in general for making these moments real, for spotlighting different things, the things
it's
that
the power of art. Like,
it really is.
It can change the world, like, and change perspectives. I mean, that's why it is so necessary in society. Like, so.
Yeah, and as actors, then, so you guys have many fingers in many pies, lots of things going on, but you've worked together on shows before. You're voice acting, am I right, Matthew?
Voice actor. I voiced a mini-series for it was a company called Ink and Light, called Stories from Backwoods, but it broadcast on RT Junior last year. I did a movie called The Restoration of Grayson Manor that premiered at Fantastic Fest in Texas there in September. So it's doing the rounds now as well. I was cast on The Rainmaker, which is on Peacock at the minute.
Yeah.
It was on USA Network, so a couple of different things.
Lots of different things. And that creativity then, I think, and thankfully because you both have such great partners, that creativity fills your cup and gives you something with which to go back and begin again to be these amazing, enduring activists that you need to be to move the mountains for your gorgeous children. So you're producing, Eileen, and
I
acting.
produced The Flowers of May. So I went back at the ripe old age of 38 to do theatre and film degree in DKIT, which was probably, I said, I have my children and my family was the best thing I've done. I loved acting from when I was in 6th class and I was asked to be the wind in my 6th class play. It lit something inside me. Probably when I was leaving school and that, I'm from industrial town, it was different times, thought I was going on doing acting. Everybody was like, where does your one think she's going? Notions about herself. But I actually got a visa for America, 3-year visa for America through the Good Friday Agreement, and that took me in a different path. So acting I was acting with the Síle Players and I won an award in that. So I knew I loved it and I kind of felt good doing it. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah.
And then I was married at like 21, had my kids really young and that. But we moved back to Ireland and I, by chance, got a phone call one night and got back into it. But I kept saying, if I could be doing this full time, I would. If I could be doing this, that would have been actually on my headstone. And then this thing happened in the world called COVID. I don't know if you used to remember that. Kind of shut everything down. And it kind of gave me this massive kick in the arse because I was taking time off work to do productions and shows or any gigs I was getting. So I would go in, I said I was a preschool teacher, I was an AIM sport officer, and I was on a 38-week contract. I only worked the hours that my children were at school because that was my priority. But then if something came in, I was like, I need another week off. And I had a very understandable boss. And anyway, COVID happened and I was like, I think I'm going to go do the degree. And when I said it to my husband, my kids, my parents, everybody went, oh, about time. So that was the reaction. And I kind of, part of me was a bit like, oh, really? And they were like, Jesus, sure, if you could be at this full time, you would, because you want to say it, So that's what I did. And I was very lucky. I got straight into a year's residency with Anton Arts Centre with Chocolate Productions. And I just left that last year. And it's gone strength and strength. Mainly theatre. I've had a couple of productions this year, and then we're on tour at the minute. And I do a lot of social media content and just that. I love comedy, and
you both do. You're both hilarious.
Thank you.
You're hilarious, absolutely hilarious. And to hear this story and feel the emotion, and to have been at the play, which is so beautifully written, amazingly produced, fabulously directed, brilliantly acted, and embraced, to then know that you have that backstory, biography and biology.
Well, that's why you have to be able to laugh, and you realise the importance of life. Life's too short, lads. It's just too short, and you have to count your blessings. You really, really do. I do anyway. I'm like, even on the days I forget to, and then I have to say gratitude. I tell you, I have it in bucket loads, and it's... You
do, Eileen, and it's contagious off you. It really is. And it's fantastic.
As long as that's all that's contagious about me, Sheila, we're good.
We are not going back to the pre-recording conversation. No way.
But just to echo that, I mean, it has been... I studied journalism in college, and that was kind of where I started, and then fell out of love with that and tried different things. But I fell into acting at an amateur level at 21, so I was, I suppose, technically quite late, but I didn't start pursuing it professionally until I was in my late 20s. So I mean, and it was kind of like you, where it's like, right, if I don't do this now, it'll be on my gravestone.
Yes.
You always wanted to do this and didn't do it. So,
but I think for me too, I couldn't have done this when the kids were younger. That was my job, and that was my role, and I was very proud, and I wore that badge on, and I still do. Even though they keep telling me stop helicopter parenting, I think is what they call it. Let them be. But then why don't they just put their coats on? Jesus, it's not that hard. But anyway, I'm not going down that road. But so kind of I got my opportunity when they were further on, and just said, but it's made me stronger for it because I bring a different world of experiences in. And I think that's very important with acting too. Is you're on with the backstory and that, but you can bring so much then to characters. You can,
and you've got beginner's mindset, which is amazing, because somebody else might be acting since they were in their teens, and they might be getting a little bit tired when they're in their mid-40s. But when you're older, not over, and you reinvent and you bring yourself back to the space to decide what is it I want to do now, because I've not grown up yet.
Yeah.
You
Oh,
certainly
yeah.
haven't grown
No,
up yet.
no.
I don't think you're ever going to grow up. I don't think you're ever going to grow up.
I'm Penelope Pan. I'm not going to call myself Peter.
Oh, my goodness gracious me. But it's great. Beginner's mindset is fabulous as well, no matter what you do. So even if you're going to write a new piece of theatre, if you're going to write a poem, if you're going to seek a resource and you're willing to knock doors down and have cold calls with people that you've not met before, but that are holding back the resources that your child needs, if you can come at it from a point of view of beginner's mindset, you get a whole lot of impetus.
Oh, 100%.
You know, because when we've run the car for a while, it needs a rest. The engine's revving, it's hot. But when you chill, cool, come back to the thing. So gratitude fuels that as well.
Oh, 100%.
You know, it's really important. What do you do yourselves, or what do your partners do? But more importantly, I suppose, because you're on the couch here together yourselves, what do you do yourselves for your downtime? So I know, Matthew, we somewhat tongue-in-cheek referenced, because we were referring to the play where Daddy might need, you know, to scull a few just to turn down the noise. But in general, to be happy and healthy and wholesome, do you get a little bit of time away that isn't work related?
My work is kind of my time away, to be honest.
No, I get that. I understand.
Yeah, well, I mean, look, it's a busy house, but like I like music, walking and stuff like that. Like, I mean, I'm going through a bit of a weight loss thing at the minute, like, and
I keep finding it. He keeps losing it.
no, but I have to, like, walking and all. It's great, even just to clear the head. Even just I normally first thing in the morning just to kind of set me up for the day, but it's done wonders for even my head, weight, whatever else, like walking. I've got into the gym as well, that kind of thing. Music, stuff like that.
So that's amazing. So you get time to walk and to go to the gym.
Yeah, first thing in the morning before kind of the day kind of starts.
Before anybody's up.
Yeah, and the two young lads, they're still in a buggy. Connor didn't walk; he was 3, so we still have them in the buggy. Like, but I walk them in the evening time to get them out as well.
Yeah.
But bit of extra resistance as well.
Oh, upper body work, absolutely, why not?
Yeah.
But again, you see, hats off to your gorgeous wife.
Yes.
Even the fact that it's first thing in the morning, there's no such thing as a guaranteed first thing in the morning window in any house.
So, like, first thing in the morning could be 3 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah,
like, so,
I know. So now it's really important to build it in nearly like a non-negotiable with a bit of flexibility.
Yeah.
Because if it's a non-negotiable from the point of view of your health and wellness, that's okay, but not a non-negotiable in family circumstance, because that's not okay. So somewhere in the middle, you've got a homeostasis, you've got a balance going on. And does your wife get a little bit of time away to herself?
Like, Catherine loves all her soaps and her Big Brothers and her reality TV, and that's kind of her escape. Gardening, she's gotten really into gardening. Wow. I mean, she was nominated by Tidy Towns there last year, but she's very good at it. But that is kind of her escape, and I'm delighted she's found it, because it is, especially in the summertime, not so much this time of year, but in the evening time when things are winding down, she'll escape outside and do her flowers and all that kind of thing, and even just for her own mental health, I think it's been a godsend in that sense, because I always told her, look, you need to find some outlet just to escape for a while, like, and she's found it now. So
that is so important. Gardening is a fabulous one, because apart from anything else, as a therapist, when I do hypnosis, I take people when they're in hypnosis, in that lovely relaxed state where consciousness is having a rest, cognitive thinking is having a rest, and you're down trying to change the programs in the subconscious mind. To take somebody gardening is fabulous, because you're pulling out the weeds. So you're weeding, so it's very metaphorical, and your brain is a metaphor seeking machine.
Yes.
So anything like that to physically, also you're in fresh air, hail, rain or snow, it's fresh air. You're in daylight, so you're picking up your looks, which is really important. You're getting a wee break away from the family. You're physically using your body. It's as good as the gym, depending on what you're doing. You're lifting pots, hopefully bending and lifting correctly. So it's amazingly and hugely important for her to get. And then, of course, you see the fruits of your labours. You got this gorgeous garden. And I love the fact that she was nominated for an award as well.
Yeah. Well, she's good at it now, in fairness to her. Like, and
so she deserves it. But
she goes all out.
Yeah, I can imagine. I can imagine, and you need that. It's so important to be parents full time, but within that, the boundaries have to allow for that little bit of downtime. So, what do you do, Eileen?
Jeez, what don't I do? No.
Well, I know you're such a busy bee.
The crack's good.
But the crack is good. Maybe that is your outlet?
Do I switch off? I suppose acting's always been was my outlet. Now it's my job, and I had a very good lecturer that said that to me. You know, when it becomes your job, it's not your outlet anymore. So you need to find alternatives. I love day trips away. We love going to museums. We love just getting out, going. We normally go camping, and we haven't been this year. We actually haven't had a holiday this year, and I'm feeling it.
Yeah.
I'm feeling it. I think we all are. So that's definitely on the cards for next year. But I switch off. I switch off now for Christmas. I absolutely love Christmas. Yeah. I love time with my family. Like, it fills my cup so much. Even like watching a movie with my husband the other night, or getting to cinema, getting dancing, getting to something. So sometimes we go through, like, I know that this is a busy time for me. November's crazy, and I'm directing a play with the Youth Theatre in Monaghan, and that's on like 2nd December. And then I've got this Actors Anonymous group with adult actors as well, so I'm directing something there. So but I keep saying, not wishing my time away, because I have to live for the moment and be present, but I know that I'm off for Christmas, because we take a break for the tour for Christmas, and I can't wait. Yeah. You know, if it's just even to go for a walk, stop and get an ice cream, watch something on the telly. And I started hosting a Teagas playgroup back in summer. And my niece is a Gaegar, and I have limited Gaelic, and I had it when I was younger, and I wanted it back. So we started doing that once a week, and the crack's 90. Yeah, oh my God. Done. So we had a Halloween party last week, and it's madness. My children do it.
Is this adults now?
It's adults. Oh, yeah, well, we have like my children, and then my nephew might come up to us sometimes. It's just in my house where we speak Irish for an hour, and we all give Erin a few quid for coming out, and we have tea and discussion. So we had a bit of a Halloween party last week. Now, has it improved my Irish? But
I'm sure it has.
But it's so enjoyable. So I love things like that.
Can I recommend something for you, for your group? There's an absolutely amazing man by the name of Garage O'Quilcha. Garage is in his mid-90s. Right. He's an absolutely fabulous character. One of the most gentle men I've ever met in my life. Very interesting, interested, engaged and engaging. Okay. A fluent Irish speaker. He was a principal teacher in his younger years. And he has a live YouTube channel that is busier than any of our socials. He adds to it every month a story in English and in Irish, which he translates, and he puts in the translation underneath and any little grammatical tuition that you might need, not to overload you, but just that you. So, for example, one of his stories, in fact, actually, this gorgeous man had been in hospital, and the very next month, he got out, let's say on a Friday, and the very next Monday, he had uploaded his story again. Wow. He's amazing. He's a super ager. I'll send you. Please he actually, would you believe, he has, talk about not being a digital native, but knowing more than the digital natives might. He has a QR code on a magazine that he writes, a pamphlet that he prepares, or a brochure he prepares every fortnight for an Irish group in RD. So you can take the QR code for the YouTube channel and vice reverse, as the fella says. He's at 95.
Oh, yeah, isn't that amazing? Why should he stop though?
He's a super ager, do you know, and we need to take our lead from him. 100%. So I'll send you all those details afterwards.
I love that, because my dad is part. When his Irish has really improved. But Dad's my mum's full-time carer. My mum has Parkinson's, and I live across the road, and that's has its challenges too. And I find myself creating a lot of like these sort of things, like Teagas play, or these things, so we can all do these things together and have a bit of fun. But I love that story, because I'm always saying, especially to my mum when she's having a bad day, she would suffer with depression, and I'm always like, you're still alive, live for God's sake, we just and so I love that story. So I'm going to be like, he's 95, watch him.
and I agree with you, and I speak about him a lot. Number one, because I admire him so very much. I think he's an absolutely amazing man. But I think you're right. I think it's important for us.
Choosing to live.
It's okay to be okay. Mm-hmm. We talk regularly about it's okay to not be okay, and there's place for that, and there's also place for it's okay to be okay. But so when you watch somebody like that, you're kind of watching the Blue Zone at home. Mm-hmm. You do not need to go to Okinawa to learn how to be somebody who has grown up in a Blue Zone type environment. If you look at somebody like him, he's from Kilcern.
Fantastic.
Down the road. Get on YouTube, follow his channel. Give him the likes.
To live. He's choosing to follow his passions. It's not,
because it's not just about more years in your life, but more life in your years.
Oh, I love that.
It's so important. Yeah. And for your little group, then you could have this as your weekly challenge. Learn as much as you can, and then you can chat about it. So keep your Circle Cora going. So lots of things for both of you to keep your cup filled, because you cannot pour from an empty cup.
An empty bag won't stand.
Yeah.
Do you know, and you can't 100%. And we will, like, I know I will be tired come Christmas, but I said I absolutely love Christmas, and I'm blessed with a good family and friends.
Yeah.
And when I can meet someone for a cup of tea or the chat, I love a bit of crack.
Yes.
The fun bit, I mean, not the drug.
Yeah.
And just to clarify that.
Every time. She does not miss a trick. She does not miss a trick. Every time. I do not know how you guys get to do any rehearsal.
Oh, the crack is 90.
Yeah, literally.
It's
The price
it's
And again,
80%
the fun,
crack,
not the
20%
drug,
rehearsal.
Matthew. Just that's we don't do drugs.
80%
that
fun,
sort of thing.
20% rehearsal most of the time.
I know.
Yeah, look at the show we put on.
I know.
Oh, it's amazing.
That's how good we are.
It is how good you are. On the subject of which, in case we forget, now I know I'm going to be putting all of this in the show notes, but will you just tell us, Matthew, where are you going to be over the next little while? I know you have your little your flyer there.
Thanks
yes.
to my Frank.
Yeah,
Thanks to your gorgeous Prentious. Let's be Prentious.
So we're in the Solstice Arts Centre in Navan on the 14th of November,
Which is next week.
We're in the Mermaid Arts Centre in Bray on the 19th of November, and we're in the Roscommon Arts Centre in Roscommon on the 21st. And that's the end of this side of the tour. And we're back in January in the Marketplace Theatre in Armagh. We're in Galway Town Hall in Galway. We're in Armagh, on the 17th of January. We're in Galway Town Hall on the 14th of February. We're in the Rammer in Virginia in Cavan on the 27th of February. We're in the Dock in Carrick-on-Shannon on the 13th of March, and we round out the tour in the Mullingar Arts Centre on the 27th of March.
Amazing. Well, everybody will have heard that, so they need to get to the theatre nearest to them, having heard that. Yeah. Check back
and keep
on
an eye on our socials.
Yes.
Yeah, because I have people coming to see it from other theatres. And we're hoping maybe to get more dates at it. So do definitely keep the 2 1 Productions or Eileen Gomez or Matthew McMahon.
Of course, and as producer, you're still looking for funding. It's never too late. Post-production.
We do have a GoFundMe. It's on our socials.
Yeah,
and yes, constantly look for funding. And it's, I was very lucky to be at the Performing Arts Forums the last 2 years, and I've spoke to a lot of people, fantastic creative people. Like we're all jigsaw pieces we're misfits trying to find our pieces, especially I think us creatives and artists and that, and the amount of people that was holding off on doing projects because of funding, it slightly infuriates me a little bit, to be honest with you, because I'm this kind of like, let's just do it. And I remember I was sitting with Matthew and Emma the first time we looked, and I was like, let's just do it, we'll have a table quiz. And the boat looked, and I went, oh God, she's one of these. And I was like, and it nearly had no faith in me, which was the truth, right? And I was like, yeah, but we do these things and just do it. And I'm like one of these, and I know I can be annoying sometimes, but I'm like, and let's try it and keep going till we can't go. But then, posters and traveling and everything costs lots of money, and so you're trying to, you want a wage, like you want to get something out of it. Like at the end of the day, and the only passion you can eat is a fruit, and so you're trying. So this is definitely a huge undertaking, a financial undertaking as well, but it's one we're so passionate about that it's so important that we're doing this. I think we both really agree with this one.
And I can endorse the efficacy of the experience, of the writing, of the performance, and of the production and directing as well. So I'm going to suggest to anybody out there who can, they should get to see this and they should support it. It is such an important story. It's amazingly presented. It's really relatable. Whether or not you've ever had experience with autism, we have a duty to understand it. Mm-hmm. We've, as a concept, if it hasn't touched our lives, we need to know. We're missing a trick. We need to understand.
Yeah, I think we just understand I suppose our story is autism, but there's so many neurodivergence out there, and the invisible disabilities that affects families on a regular basis, and so many things have been in the headlines regarding autism, like the paracetamol now, and the things that make people wonder and question and ask. And this is an opportunity to have these conversations and open these conversations, and it's okay to have them, and it's important.
They have to be had. And the beautiful thing as well is that there's a part within the play where you reference that, the way they used to say, and that you quickly reference what people used to purport was the reason for autism. I don't want to be giving away all the spoilers, but it's so important, because then, if nothing else, that starts the conversation. Because none of us know everything that there is to know. And as we've really beautifully touched on, I think, in our conversation here, even within comparison in families who are living with autism, there's so much diversity. So much diversity.
I don't know about you, but I mean, there's a part in the play where Lisa goes on, like, was it the time I fell down the stairs? Was it something I had? And you start overthinking all these things, like, is it our fault that this is what's happened? Like, and it's important to have those conversations.
Well, they're the conversations that really happen. Did I do something here? Was it because I was, like, I've had conversations with so many women, like, that we discussed how long we were in labour, how many weeks we were pregnant, what delivery was like. Do you know, we've questioned so many things. And because especially we are the carriers and the incubator, and we are like, did I do something here? And then you like realise people are smoking and drinking and that in the 60s, and like everybody's fine, or are they? I don't know. But do you know, and you're like, do you know, it's just the overthinking, and it's a horrible word to say. There's guilt at the beginning because, as you mentioned earlier, the grieving process of it. But again, as I said earlier, when you get that, it's a beautiful play called Welcome to Holland. Oh, not play, sorry, poem, Welcome to Holland. And I cannot think of the writer, the poet right now, but I will send it to you. And it's a beautiful poem that I was given when Oisin got first diagnosed, and I give it to a lot of people that are going through a new diagnosis. And it's all about, you know, this. When you're finding you're pregnant, you buy the books and you think you're going to Italy, so you learn the language for Italy, and you start buying the clothes for the weather that's going to be in Italy, and you start preparing for this fabulous trip to Italy, and then you get on the plane and they go, welcome to Holland. And you're like, no, excuse me. I was booked for Italy. And they're like, well, Holland's what you got. You know, and then you start realising Holland's actually beautiful. You know, it's got the windmills and tulips and there's so much to it. But that's the journey of it, you know. But yeah, please do come and see it. We'd love to just support. Come in your groups, come bring your family members, come feel seen and give us feedback. We really love that.
Schools everywhere.
Schools everywhere. We would love teachers, SNAs.
We need team building nights for schools. We need somebody, whoever has the post of responsibility within all schools now, close to within an ass's gallop of that now. They need to get bus loads out, get booked in plenty of time, so you guys know what to expect and that you have the right size of theatre within any theatre booked. We need bums on seats. We need teachers need to see it, parents, SNAs, people who have experience with autism, people who don't. It's a really important moment in our time. It's
also really funny. Like we're making it out of this droll kind of, but there's actually moments of absolute hilarity in it. And I was very conscious of, I didn't want it to be a slug, emotional, heavy thing.
I know. Many times I've had this conversation. I'm like, because I am obsessed with putting light into things. I'm like, we have to have humour. We have to have humour. And
the dynamics between Lisa and David. I mean, there's all these typical relationship squabbles that actually just spawn into absolute hilarity. And the amount of times.
Do you ever discuss vasectomies? Did you get that far? I just thought I'd drop that in.
I had to think there for a second. I don't think so, but that could be in the sequel. We'll throw that into the sequel.
Anyway, anyhow,
nothing to do with the play.
Moving swiftly along. Matthew, you're right. There is so much fun and comedy and relatable dynamic because the two of you bring human you to it, and because life is like that. It's not just the doom and the gloom. There's always the sun after the shower.
100%. It's always darkest before the dawn. And we really, you know, there's not like sleeping on something and getting up the next day and realising it's not as bad as it was. And like, it's hard, guys. Anyone listening to this, we know, I know, and there's been dark days, you know, but the sun, as you said, always does come out. I promise it does. And, you know, you just have to...
This is the piece of sunshine that everybody needs to put into their winter and their spring.
Thank you so much.
I thoroughly enjoyed it. I thoroughly enjoyed our conversation. I wish you the very best with this and with all of your other endeavours. You are two gorgeous people.
Thank you.
It's an absolute... It's a pleasure. It's an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much.
No, thank you for having us, Sheila.
Guys, thanks a million.
Thank you very much.
And there you have it. Across classrooms, playgrounds and communities, teachers really do work tirelessly to meet the needs of every child, not least children with autism, navigating complexity with patience and skill. Their dedication is remarkable. And today, we turn our focus to another realm of extraordinary effort, the lived experience of parents of children with autism. Parenting a child on the autism spectrum is an experience that exists on multiple planes. As we heard today, emotional, cognitive, social, to name but a few. The heart, whether mammy or daddy heart, carries an intensity that can be in any brief moment fierce, fighting for resources, and tender, the purest of love for their gorgeous children. Every milestone, every small achievement is accompanied by anxiety, pride, and an undercurrent of fear for what the future might hold. The comparisons creep in, almost invisibly, neurotypical children reaching expected milestones, the world seeming to move at a different pace. That comparison can quietly steal joy, but as we realise today, it can also illuminate the extraordinary resilience, dedication and creativity required by these families and for these families. Autism exists on a vast continuum, a spectrum so wide that no two experiences are identical. Parents become advocates, strategists, champions, navigating a world that often doesn't pause to understand their challenges. The psychological pressure is profound, yet it is grounded in love, a love so deep that it can break your heart and rebuild it daily. Philosophically, it forces us to reconsider what it means to see, to understand, to inhabit another person's world. Theory of mind becomes more than an academic concept. It becomes the lived reality of attempting to truly understand a child whose experience of the world is totally different from our own. And marriage too, as we heard, exists under these pressures. Partnerships are tested in so many ways, subtle and acute. The play The Flowers of May captures this brilliantly. I saw it myself during the week, and it shows parents navigating both their child's needs and the quiet, often invisible pressures that life exerts on any marriage, not least a marriage, managing autism as well, layers of tension, moments of isolation, the optics of neighbours' lives, and that deeper necessity perhaps to try so hard to hold tight to the family unit, even in the face of adversity. This is the power of theatre, to illuminate the unseen, to give voice to experiences too often lived in silence. The Flowers of May, written by Matthew McMahon and directed by Emma Saunders, co-starring the exceptional Eileen Gomez, does exactly that. It portrays the resilience, the heartbreak, the joy, and the quiet heroism of families living with autism in ways that are intimate, unflinching, and ultimately profoundly human. So guys, your task for this week? Obviously, take one concrete step to build understanding and connection around autism. If you're a teacher, a care professional, or you work with children, commit to learning one new strategy or perspective this week to better support children on the spectrum. If you know someone with autism, reach out, listen, ask, and try to understand their experience without judgment. If you're a parent of a child with autism, please connect at least once a week with someone who truly understands your journey. Another parent perhaps, a support group, or a professional. Treat yourself to that time to share, reflect, and support one another. And for everyone, commit to educating yourself and your children about autism. Understanding is not optional. It's our responsibility. Small steps, repeated, ripple out into lasting change. And so it is.